Hello boaters, welcome to Narrowboat Journeys. My name is Phil and I've lived aboard my narrowboat on the canal system for over 30 years. I share my home with my two cats, Bushka and Midge, and we spend our days travelling around the canal system and making videos. This is part 2 of my trip through Stoke-on-Trent. We're on the Trent and Mersey Canal and we're starting off at Etruria, which is more or less in the centre of Stoke-on-Trent, and we're just approaching the junction. At the junction, up ahead, you can turn left and go down the 2nd Canal, or like me, you can go straight on through 5 locks and carry on along the Trent and Mersey Canal. Also at the junction are the CRT boaters facilities. However, before we go any farther, let's have a look at the map. This is the junction. I'm currently at the top left of it, and the blue line there is the Trent and Mersey Canal. The boaters facilities are just a very short distance along the 2nd Canal. You can easily reverse back. Our trip begins at the yellow marker at the top of the map. We follow the blue line down to the yellow marker at the bottom of the map, which is just on the southern outskirts of Stoke-on-Trent. On the way, we've got to go through 5 locks, the Stoke flight, that's a 50-foot drop. But after that, it's just a very straight cruise. There are very few mooring places along this stretch of canal. You wouldn't want to stop there anyway. Here's the first lock up ahead. There's a boat coming through at the moment, so I've got to wait for them. These locks are all pretty deep actually. They're sort of 10 to 12 feet deep. There aren't any volunteer lock keepers on these, so it's going to be fairly slow and hard work for me on my own. Okay, here we go. Now this is going to be fairly slow and time consuming, so I'll show you the first couple of locks in some detail, but after that the remaining 3 locks we'll skip through pretty quickly because otherwise it's just going to be very dull. And the video will be too long, of course. You mustn't tie the rope to the bollard there, because otherwise when you go down in the lock you can have some terrible problems. So just loop it around a couple of times like that so it can slip, but offer some resistance as it goes down. You do have to keep a very close eye on it to make sure it doesn't snag. The gearing on these lock paddles are terrible. Look how many times I've got to turn the windlass just to crank up the paddle. Now if there was an emergency and I needed to close the paddles really quickly, I would literally just have to drop them and let them fall, because it would just be far too slow to wind them down. Now I'm just keeping a very close eye on the rope here to make sure it's not snagging. Also, as the boat goes down in the lock, sometimes the rope can get caught between cracks in the brickwork and jam that way, so you'll have to watch out for that as well. This is a deep lock and I emptied it pretty slowly, so I've sped up the video a bit. Well, that's one done. 4 more to go, and because there's no one waiting to come up, I've got to stop now and close the gates. It all takes time. So I close the gates, and here's the next lock. Very, very close. All of these locks are pretty close together. Right, on to the next lock. The next one's just up ahead, around the corner a little bit, not far at all. I'm getting bored with locks now. There's 3 more to go. I'll show you each one, but I'm not going to go into any great detail with them. South of Etruria, there are some residential areas, but quite quickly the canal turns more industrial again, and it's just lots of railway lines, roads, factories. It's generally fairly unpleasant, to be honest, and not a good place to moor up, I'm quite sure of that. Here's the 4th lock in the flight, and on the other side of it the canal goes underneath a load of railway lines. This bridge is very low, and you wouldn't want to come down here at night. In fact, going through here in the daytime's a bit scary. You never know who you're going to meet. That squeaking is coming from nesting birds. I said it was low, didn't I? This one's a little bit higher. The fifth and final lock is another deep one, and this one exits underneath a busy road bridge. Well, from now on it's all bridges, roads, factories and small businesses. And for that reason I'm going a bit faster than I normally do. I want to be out of here. On the left I can see another bottle kiln. Must be an old pottery. sound recording distorted a bit going under here. Lots of echoes, very boomy. It's very hard to know what sounds are going to come up during a trip, so I have to guess with the manual recording levels. We're starting to get near the outskirts of Stoke-on-Trent now, so I'm keeping my eyes open for a good safe mooring spot. There are visitor moorings just after Bridge 108A, and that's Bridge 108 up ahead, but notice there's no boats moored here, so I'm going to carry on a bit farther. Well, this looks like it might be okay for the night. It is pretty isolated, there's no other boats, but we are out of the city now and it seems pretty quiet round here. I hope you've enjoyed this trip. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.